Hello and welcome to Sports by Compion Midwest Rugby Edition. We're back with another episode letting you find folks know about what's going on with Illinois rugby. And to help us with that today is, as you see on the title, old boy Steve from the South Side Irish is here to give us the deets. Let us know what's going on over there on the South Side, as they've been playing rugby for quite some time now. We're going to hear all about it. Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, we're excited to have you. We've been, this is a club that I imagine has been around almost as long as Chicago has been playing rugby, right?
Funny you ask. We're actually about to celebrate our 50-year anniversary. We're in the process of planning a 50-year celebration. So yeah, we've been around quite a little bit of time.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah. So what's the exact origin date on that? The
75, man. Yeah, 1975.
Wow.
The exact date, but yeah, 75.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, no, not the exact date. I was just more curious about the year. 75. So yeah, the Ravens are right behind you guys, but that's pretty cool. How long have you been playing with the club? The whole time, all 50 years?
I'm about to date myself. It's kind of funny. So I'm actually trying to put together a tournament. I'm thinking about going to Maggot Fest, which just took place to celebrate my 30-year anniversary of picking up a rugby ball.
Wow.
Yeah. Picked up a rugby ball.
Man. That's impressive that you're still doing it.
Yeah, well, my knees and my hips don't say so, but yeah. Thanks.
I feel that. Yeah, I think I had the pleasure of first playing with you back with the Daddies during a sevens tournament.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. You're out there playing sevens tournaments. That's fast-paced rugby. You're still hanging in there just fine.
Yeah, as you get older, you get craftier. You find a little.
Yes.
So
for sure.
Yeah. But no, it's been great. I started playing in 96 at Old Boys at University of Illinois. And the only reason I was at the Old Boys game is because someone bribed me with free beer and free food after the game. And I was just going there for the party. And the B-side game, they put on the old school, big, thick cotton jersey and said, hey, you're playing next. And it was, Old Boys is in the last week of August at U of I. And so it was a bit 80-degree day. And put on that big long sleeve cotton jersey, covered in sweat. So probably weighed like 5 pounds because 4 pounds is just somebody else's sweat. Freshman, right? I've been on campus for a week. I wasn't going to say no. So ran out there, had a great time. And my reason I went there also is one of my good friends from high school. He's from his parents are from Ireland. His first generation. So he knew about rugby. I didn't know anything about it. He was all into it. So I was just kind of following him around. And more stories, I had a great time and started playing at U of I and almost thought about quitting too on my first season. Then a guy, Pete, who ended up playing professionally over Hong Kong and made it onto their national team. He got me to convince me to stay out and got me playing for the South Side Irish because we both grew up on the South Side of Chicago out here in Beverly. And so I started playing for the Irish in 99, somewhere 99, sevens.
Okay.
I hated the team, to be honest with you. Like in college, I remember playing them in college. I thought they were a bunch of jerks. I mean, back in rugby was a brawl back in the 90s where you could you could punch and not get a red card. It was legal to step on people as long as you weren't stepping on their head. So I thought they were the dirtiest bunch of dudes and, playing grown men that stepping on kids. I was like, these guys suck. I hate these dudes. But
sure.
Pete promised my swore his protection, so I was like, "You protect me, I'll play." And then here I am, been in a semi-leadership role for the last 5-10 years, and even stupidly bought a bar to support the club. So yeah, quite involved. It's kind of long transition from hating the club to now being a major or one of the major sponsors for the club.
So just to back up, so the Rockford Ravens had the pleasure of playing the Southside Irish this spring for the first time since I've been here. 6-7 years now with the Ravens. We've never had the pleasure of playing you guys, so this was a fun experience to go out. Yeah, and I believe we played on your guys' home pitch, and we went to. So is that your bar that we all went to afterwards?
No, that's a that's a proper Irish bar to carry.
Okay.
No, our bar is called Front Row. Reason why I call it Front
Row.
That. Yeah. It's obviously play off the rugby position, and also we have like a little bit of a venue in the back, and so you can have like kind of a small venue, so everyone has like front row seating when we go to our about 100 people. So And so, I
Wow.
opened a bar about 6 years ago. Unfortunately, we're shut down at the moment, but we'll get back open pretty soon. We just got to make some upgrades to the place. So building commissioner came in, hit us.
Oh, man. I can only imagine it's difficult to operate as a bar in the city.
Yeah. It was in Blue Island, just south of the city, but still the same amount of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's probably easier to grease the wheels in the city than it would be in Blue Island, to be honest.
You got to do what you got to do to stay in business out there. Right. So have you played front row the whole time you've been playing rugby, or did you
I've been playing second row, but second row didn't really, I don't know if it didn't roll off the tongue or whatever.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but I'm playing. I play front row, a prop. As that's one way I can get on the pitch. I'll jump in the front row, but it's not. I don't know. It's my technique, or I'm too tall, or I'm just, I don't know, legs too weak. But yeah, it's not the greatest prop, but I can fake it in a B-side game.
Fair enough. But so when you were playing in college, you played second row then too?
Yeah. I was able to. I don't know. Yeah, play second row is pretty good in lineouts. And I know probably if there's better flankers out there, so the guys a little bit quicker out there. And the guy who brought me out to rugby, he was a hell of a flanker. And so, yeah, just kind of found my way in the second row and was able to lock and have a good push in the scrums. And just kind of, even when he's 6'2", I've been able to hold down that position for, a pretty long time now.
Nice. So, let's back it up to that game. We had a chance to go out there, play you guys in the spring, which was a really fun round robin. Kind of, you could call it that, sort of. It was you, us, the Riot, and all three of us got to play each other. The Ravens had a good day at the office. But yeah, it was interesting playing your squad out there because obviously you can kind of tell this isn't probably the South Side Irish starting 15 that you may see on a fall day.
No,
is that accurate, sort of, to say, or?
Yeah, so the spring season is really interesting, right? MLR coming to Chicago has really, I think, changed the sport. I mean, the spring season is also, so for us, right, in the regular fall season, we are either have guys in our team. We're only allowed to have 2 players from an MLR on our team, so we'll have a few of those guys, and then we would in the past get guys from the academy, and that's all dependent on the level of play and how it's feeling comfortable that their players are going to get supported, probably supporting the club. So you guys, even with aspirational goals that want to get onto the academy, will come out and in the fall season, and that's a pretty demanding season. Play pretty competitive, high level, and the trainings can be we have physical trainings. And it can take a toll. And so in the spring, a lot of those guys, all the guys probably the starting 15, generally time to take the spring off just for burnout, whatever. I mean, they're still training on their own. And in the spring, we just typically have the reserve D2 side guys and a lot of guys on a D4 team, which I think has done a great deed of good for our club, starting a D4 team. Last season, we actually took the spring season off, and it was probably a mistake. And looking back this season, we put our spring season together last minute, but it's been really good. We have a lot of D4 guys that want to keep honing their skills. We got a lot of guys on the Cubs at D2 are cracking the top 15 that want to get better and showcase their skills. And so having these round robins and, we go into these spring season games, we want to make sure everyone gets minutes. Sometimes we'll even go out there with the strategy. Like the first game, we're not even kicking. We don't care if they kick it in our 22. We're running it out. We just want to work on our phase play. We want to make sure we're getting our structure. We want to make sure that, when there's chaos out there, we can regroup and regain our shape and play the ball and play the style rugby that we want to play. And so making sure guys can learn that system, it really helps out and just getting those extra reps in because, in the fall season, back in my day, you just had the A side and the B side game right then. But now in the fall season, the team gets separated if you do have a D2 and D4 squad. And
Steve, sorry to cut you off here real quick. Just to clarify, so do you guys have a D1 team and a D2 team and now a D4 team? Is that correct?
No, just D2 and D4. Just D2 and D4.
D2 and D4. Okay.
Yeah, just D2 and D4.
And the D4, you said you just started it last year?
Yeah, that was our first season. Yeah, we had our first one on D4 last year. Yeah, that's very helpful. And just because you want to have that numbers, and having those extra numbers, especially the burnout on the guys who are in that starting 15. The D4 guys kind of carry the spring season. They're getting those reps and getting experience, and we're still running the same structure and shape that we run at the D2 level.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's been a good thing. So I'm glad,
because you got to get those guys game time for them to
Exactly.
stay interested, stay wanting to play, and you can't really develop properly unless you're getting game time. Is
100%.
something we're starting to run into a little bit too with some of our younger guys and trying to get them out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that.
You don't get that
on a larger scale though.
Yeah, the fall season's hard to do that, and I mean you get the D4 schedule, but it presents a set of challenges. So yeah, I think the first year we got our new coach and we were playing a little bit at a higher competitive level. We lost some guys that just we'll have 30 guys at practice, but 5 or 10 guys won't get playing time, and they just lost interest over time. So now we can at least guarantee them a D4 game and a spring season. I think it's just been helping keeping the interest and keeping the younger guys going, so we can not have a huge drop off. We have great talent right now, but probably aging, a lot younger than me, but still they think they're close to retirement. And so you hate to have that, those 2 good 4 or 5 seasons and that huge drop off in talent. Everyone retires at the same time. You have that big ebb and flow, that lull.
I think almost every club I talk to is headed for this, Steve. By curiosity, is most of your talent around the 28 to 32 range?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's right around where every single club is. So don't feel like you're alone.
Yeah.
Apparently the younger kids just don't want to play rugby right now so far. We are struggling to get them out across the board, it sounds like.
Yeah,
exactly. It's definitely a bunch of 32-year-olds with a bunch of miles on our body, and we're like, I don't know, man. We're gonna retire soon. Who's taking over this thing?
And then those kids who are 22, 23 that join the club, and all those 28-year-olds are starting consistently being the core nucleus of the club. They just fall off, or they go to another club, and they just stop playing rugby altogether. And it's hard. Yes. So I think that D4 feeder program is critical. I think for the longevity of the club and maintaining consistency.
Absolutely. We even as a D3 squad, we might be starting to think about that because, like in the spring, it's kind of like you said, a lot of guys do take it off. And this spring, especially, we were scrounging for numbers, but it can't be in the fall. It's like it's so hard to do that, when you're trying to compete for getting to the playoffs and such, get these guys their numbers. Plus, you can only have 23.
Right.
And, you got 30-some guys showing up to practice. So,
right.
Definitely got to start. But that's at least for us. What do you guys kind of average usually when you're in the fall season as far as numbers showing up to practice?
Man, I hate to call out my club, but I don't think I'm saying anything new or anything that other clubs don't experience. We start off slow. We start off, the season keeps creeping up earlier. I used to start in September. Then it was like maybe the week before Labor Day. Now it's almost mid-August.
And it's so hot, man. Those first couple games are so hot.
It's hot, right? You almost got to play. You got to beg the ref to play 20-minute quarters, just so you get that water break for 2 minutes. So with that being said, you got guys who you got to start training in late July. You want to at least have 3-4 weeks of training underneath your belt before you hit that first game. And although we set the schedule to start our first practice in late July, I'm not gonna lie, man. Cats are still, going to the cottage, playing softball. Just, aren't something like they're just not mentally in rugby mode because it's the middle of July, right? They just finished blowing off fireworks for 4th of July. They're not thinking about rugby yet because, like, it used to start in September. So, it's like that week or two right before we're about to have that first game, the numbers start showing up, but we'll have a test match and we're starting to catch a groove. But I think like last year, especially with us not having a spring season, we really started off slowing and we kind of put ourselves behind the mark. We had to play the Blaze and came up short, and that really losing that one game really hurt us.
2
seasons ago, and we're just right there. And after that, we got our stride. This is 2 seasons ago, and we ran the table after that. We were money, but we just started off slow, and at that slow start hurts us. But to answer your question, I mean, it'll start off around 15 guys, the first practice of the season. Then by the time we're full steam, we got 35, 40 guys at practice, at our peak, or, full weather, 30 guys, but still, we can do 2 full sides against each other, and, we can run a full-on scrimmage. We're doing a little bit of hitting, not full-on contact, but, dropping at least putting the shoulder in, and it's a good experience. It's good prep.
Absolutely. That's interesting to know though, that most clubs do kind of experience a lot of the same stuff, getting it going a little slow. That's a really early start. I hope we're not starting the second week of August this year, but
we might, because I remember taking November off for the All Blacks game, All Blacks Ireland game. So, and they don't want to go too deep into November. And I think the schedule's already out, but I think we're starting pretty early.
Well, it might be D2 that's already out then. They kind of wait for D3 for a while. I like to think. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, that's interesting. So how confident are we feeling going into this fall season? Who's in your division? Because now the Riot and Lake County just came up. So are they in
Yeah,
your
they
division
did.
too
They
now?
did. They did. The Blaze went up. Lake County and the Riot are in there now. The Fox Valley State, the Fox Valley State D2. And then and that, I mean the Chicago conference is even split up. Like I can't even say like the Lions have a D2 squad. The Blaze have D1 and D3. I'm trying to think who else. I mean, it's all the usual suspects, plus now the Riot and Lake County. I think it would be the only differences.
Sure. How are you feeling about that? The transition of those two clubs coming up?
I think it's good. I mean, the Riot used to be D2. They're always a good competition. They looked good when we played them in this round robin, so I'm excited to see them in the fall when we're full strength. I know they're gonna be well equipped and ready to play and give us a good match, and I'm excited for the competition. I think we control our own destiny. I think any club could say that, right? Like if we our club was ranked as far as the club members sipped, we're somewhere in the top 10. We're pretty high up there. Now, again, I mean, so being in the top 10, you might have 80, 90 people sipped. I don't know the exact number, but I only mentioned like 30 to 40 guys that practice at peak season.
Sure.
So that's less than 50% turnout. If you take our top 23 guys out of the 80 guys sipped and you put them out there, we can put up a really good fight with almost any club in the Midwest, I would like to say. And not only put them up, but also if they train together. You know what I'm saying? I think last year we had probably one of the better teams we've had on paper. We just didn't have the consistency. We didn't run our system enough.
Gotcha.
And those little critical mistakes where we were just a little bit out of touch that cost us critical points and critical minutes that I think made the difference in us coming up just a little short, a little bit shy. So when I say we control our destiny, we put our best club out there and that best club consistently plays together week over week, trains together. I think we can make a lot of noise in the Midwest, but there's also a lot of great talent out there. And I'm sure a lot of clubs can say the exact same thing. But
sure, but no, that makes sense. That you have a lot of guys, but they got to show up and practice together because the consistency and knowing what a guy is going to do is all huge for those really high stress, high intensity, quick moments. You got to know what your dude's going to do.
Exactly. And I think that's showed in a couple of games where it's just in those battles and that last 20 minutes, fatigue's kicking in, and you got to have that natural instinct. You just know your mate's going to be to the left, to the right. You know what they're going to do. You're just out of sync, and it's that little costly mistake. Someone splits that gap, that split second decision on defense. And I don't want to go into any specifics, but I think we got burnt by that a couple of times last season, and no one to blame but ourselves.
Exactly. I think a lot of clubs could attest to that, but it's good to know some of the weaknesses to work on. So speaking of these guys who are going to be doing it, one of the guys I know fairly well from your team is I want to say his name's Andrew, big old Latino gentleman, just always lots to say on the field. I had a fun old day playing against him. Man, every time I see that guy at sevens tournaments, he's always really good, hard to tackle every time.
Yeah.
And that's what I really can respect a rugby player. Like I like to think about defense is by far my strongest suit. So if I struggle to tackle you, all right, you're probably pretty decent at this.
Yeah, he's a stud, man. He's a really good player. He's very vocal, and I think we have a couple of players who are vocal like him, and that sometimes plays to our detriment with the sir. That's one of the things that we actually.
No, the Ravens know nothing about that. We're so good. We get sirs on our side. Let me tell you, Steve, some of the best.
Yeah, so we've been really like we go into every match on Thursday like no yellow cards, no red cards, no one time. We do that. We call that a success. So
love that.
Yeah, we kind of unfortunately built up a little bit of reputation with Carpool Rugby Society, and we're really trying to do our best to reverse that. And I think we're getting there, but some I don't know, I won't say habits, but some reputations are hard to overcome with given how many years of our guys are.
I know exactly what you're talking about. To make these things happen. Yeah. So who are some of the other players? I also noticed 10 was very fast. Definitely was great support as well.
I mean, like the level of player. I mean, you got guys on our squad that it's such a wide range, especially in spring, like because you still get some of those guys that want to come out and still run. I mean, you got guys who are recently retired from MLR, but still obviously have a step and can take over a game at the D2 level. And then you got guys who are fresh out of high school 1 year, going to a local school here on the South Side and still learning the game, or natural just athletes, but trying to play in high school style rugby at a men's level. And then you got guys who are just trying to get back in shape. You got old men like me who are just happy to still get out of the house, have an excuse to get out of the house, and they'll want to at least provide some wisdom or just provide numbers at practice and just keep the legacy alive and pay it forward, or pay it back, I guess. No, 30 years didn't matter. But for all the clubs given to them. And so with that, you have varying levels of skill sets, you have varying levels of athletic capabilities. And it's just hard. I mean, and in these D4, in these spring season matches, I mean, we had a couple guys playing 10 because we're trying everyone out at new positions. So I don't remember exactly who it was. I have one guy in my mind who I think it might have been. And if it is, he's absolute stud.
Nice.
But
we'll talk about some of these players you're excited about. Like who do you think is going to be some of the guys who are really going to lead this team and come fall?
Yeah, I think come fall, it all depends, right? We could get a couple of guys back who are either in MLR or recently retired. We get those guys back. It's huge. We can if we get some of the guys who were trying to crack the Hounds Academy but went over and didn't crack there but went to other academies in MLR. We can get those guys back. That's going to be huge. We are looking to potentially bring back some of our international talent. We didn't do that last year. I think we're going to try to do that this year. And we have a couple of guys at a couple of feeder programs overseas in England and Wales. We got some folks in Australia. I mean, all the major rugby countries. And we have, if we can get this one fly half back that we had 2 years ago, just an absolute stud. He could really change the game. Kick a penalty kick anywhere inside the 60 meters. It's pretty sick. And then his passing and his IQ, his way he sees the pitch is just insane. So I mean, and it's also got the type of guys. I mean, we just get those guys, those hard hitters. With the South Side prides itself on our kind of blue collar South Side mentality. So we got a lot of guys who are just kind of bruisers who love to hit and hard runners, like you said, hard to tackle, who help set the tone. You match that physical play with the skill sets and the IQs of those guys who are playing at the highest level or had play at the highest level or play at the high levels overseas. It makes for a pretty dangerous club. I'm not going to go into any specific names. I don't want to, or maybe I don't know if they want their names mentioned or if they, I don't want to toot their horns too much, but I mean, we had some pretty amazing 10s. Our scrum half is really great. We got some really great talent at 8-man and flanker. We got some props that can actually carry pretty well. What else? Our centers. We got some centers that are really fast. We had this one guy who's actually playing in Portugal right now, and he was just playing in South Africa and playing all over the world. We can get him back at fullback or wing. He's not the biggest size, but his IQ is there and he's so damn quick. And to plug him for a little bit, you guys may know him from Rugby Expo. We can get him back. I think he can help make a difference. He's always good for a tryout 2 per game. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know right now. We're reaching out to those folks. We're trying to set them up with accommodations, find housing for them and make sure that, they have everything they need. And if we can put the team back that we have on like I said, scratched out on paper, I think we're going to make a lot of noise. But
love that.
They got to show up to training.
Exciting times.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
Well,
what about you guys? How you guys looking? What are you guys excited about for the season?
All the Ravens are very excited for our fall season. You guys just took away some of our heaviest competitors in the division. They just wandered off to Division 2, so it's a good time for us over here at Rockford. Okay. We just need to make sure we take care of business at home, get a couple of tough road wins, and we might find ourselves in the playoffs for the first time in a very long time. So
that's awesome.
We're very excited about it. We just gotta, it's like you said, we gotta do everything right. Our guys got prepared during the summer the correct way. You guys have a really strong 7s presence and like 10s presence, right?
Yeah. I think our 7s. So we actually just kicked off our first 7s practice just on Tuesday. We got Dion taking over as coach. Dion has a great experience. He played out in Seattle for a couple of years. and then MLR out in Seattle, and now he's every day, or not every day, but like, on days of practice, or almost every day, he's putting out like, hey guys, here's the training schedule I want you to do, and on the off day, here's our training schedule for today's practice. And it's great to see that structure. I think that really helps us with recruiting, because a lot of the top talent, that's coming out of the college want to play competitive sevens. And for so long, we took sevens as just like, let's just show up, play, touch. We'll play until the lights, the sun sets, or, the lights.
Yeah. That's pretty much how we approach the summer.
Yeah. And we'll just go and we'll play in a social division. We'll, we won't drink the first game, but we'll start drinking the second and third game, and,
sure,
good times. Now it's completely different. We go out there structure. We still have a social side that, and for guys like me who are, in their 40s, who want to play social and not get, drive to Wisconsin by 7 a.m. for an 8 a.m. kickoff, want to play a 12 o'clock match. Like, we still have that side, but those young kids who want to play competitive, train at a high level, seeing how much the seven sport has changed. It's no more like just a fun social beer league. It has that element, but it's now much more competitive with it being an Olympic sport. We had that, and we have a coach that's taking it serious and let them know that, hey, this is just not a beer league. We're actually playing some serious sevens, and that's going to hopefully help us retain some of that top college talent that that grew up on the South Side, end up playing really competitive sevens, but oftentimes get poached by the higher level clubs because they didn't believe we had the structure to support their rugby careers. Now I think that's changing for us.
Love that, man. That's so competitive, keeping people in the city like that. Like, they're really good players.
Yeah, and I know you're from Rockford, but like this, the South Side is not where people right out of college want to go. That's not typically the big party scene. And the party scene's on the north side, right? So it's easy for those clubs on the north side to just get some of the better talent just through location. And so we have to get those kids. And, we have a lot. I live in Logan Square. We got guys who live up in Wrigleyville who are driving past Lincoln Park, driving past the Riot, driving past Alliance, to go to practice and train on the South Side because they grew up on the South Side. So we're really trying to focus on maintaining that, building that loyalty at the high school level. We were really heavily involved coaching all the Catholic teams awesome. on the South Side. And we got all those Catholic teams are just this week are playing in the semifinals. And those are all guys who are still semi-active on the team or fully active on the team. They're coaching those guys. And it's great to see that the success that they're having all into the semifinals. So they maintain that contact. They go off to college for 4 years. And the storyline so often was like, well, you're a good player, but you can't go back to the South Side. You're too good for them. You have to play somewhere else. And then we end up losing that talent, even though we invested so much into them. So we can keep them around for sevens, give them a competitive season, and build that loyalty and that trust. Hopefully they'll make some of those same decisions that we're making, like guys like myself are making, and drive past those 3, 4, or 5 other clubs to keep training with the South Side because they know they can play at a high talent and still foster their career if they want to make it to the professional level.
Hey, ball is ball, right? So if you guys are filming them and giving them the opportunity to show film where they need to, they'll show up. Coaches will give them a shot.
Yeah, Charlie coming out and coaching us has been amazing. He's really changed the culture of the club, and he's just it was like people didn't think we had the conduit or access to get people exposure on the South Side. We had a couple of guys. We got a guy who would play for the Eagles, Dave Fee, who I think everybody knows. And so he was kind of a conduit. But now with Charlie and his direct connection with the Hounds, and then having some of the other Hounds players train with us and help coach us as well, has been really helpful. So, guys can get exposure. And like I said, even with with our sevens, we got guys who are, from the MLR, Dion Wright, who can help still, put people on and expose them to, if they're showing that high level talent, like here's a path of how you can make it, and here's how I got there, and still show them the way. So the only conduit isn't just through the Griffins and Lions. There's still, a conduit through the South Side or, even a Blaze.
Sure.
Any of the club.
Yeah.
But,
and then the Riot's popping into that whole competition soon too. So yeah, it's a competitive market there in the city. But hey, you guys got a lot of talent out there, at least.
Yeah, it's it's interesting to kind of see, like, I hope you have this parity. You just see those clubs that you talked about, like, you hopefully can make it to the playoffs this year, and I hope we just have parity, right? Like I hope we run the table, but I hope we don't have those games that where you see some teams that get moved up are getting smoked by 90 points and at the D2 level. Then they go back down to D3 and now they're smoking everybody at the 90 points. Like they're kind of like, the equivalent of baseball, like quadruple.
Hey, it was never that bad, Steve. We may have never beat the Riot since I've been here, but it's never been by 90, all right?
But I remember for us, like our biggest challenge, like we can like never get past Madison. We had some good, some good fights with them, like battles, not like actual fights, but good battles. Yeah. But he never moved up to D1, and we could just never get past them. And it's just it's hard to find that parity because clubs local, so you don't have the long travel because that can obviously put you at a disadvantage, a 3-hour travel time. But then you get those clubs that are just kind of right in that cusp of two different divisions, and they're blowing out people in one division, getting blown out in the other. And I don't know what the answer is to that, but.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's almost like they need a 2A and 2B or something.
Right. Yeah. And then also you got to consider like how big D2 is, right? It's probably, I think, the largest division. I'm almost positive it is. And, it's done by region. So like you start to ask your question, like, is the Carfu division more competitive than the Wisconsin division or the Minnesota division, right?
Yeah.
I don't envy those guys who have to make those schedules and break up the league and try to figure that out because you have so many competing interests between travel schedule and trying to keep parity between the clubs. But I'm glad they expanded the playoffs though. Going back to 2 years ago, I thought by the time we caught stride and ran it, won our last 6-7 games, I thought we would have been very competitive in the playoffs. But there was only one spot available and we didn't get it because we lost that first damn game.
Huh. So yeah, now that there's two, I would fully agree with that. It definitely gives clubs like us more hope too. I think once that second playoff hope spot opened up, even when the Riot was still in the division, it was like, all right, well we could beat everybody else and maybe even beat the Riot, and now we got that second spot. We came close to 23. Nice. Woodsman got us the very last game at home, no less. To you, it was tragic stuff.
Yeah, but I love these rivalries. Right? I remember when Woodsman were D2, and we got to play these guys this spring. That was a great game. Got to see some of the guys I used to play with come out. So I mean, I just like the whole Carfu competition
for sure.
And I understand people get relegated and stuff are promoted, but that's Woodsman been around forever, and I'm glad they're surviving, still doing strong. Seeing you guys for the first time in probably over a decade. I don't know how long it's been, but that's great. And seeing Riot back, I think that's great. I love Fox Valley still holding in. We really love playing that club. It's just great to just, as much as we like to battle, I have a huge respect for all these clubs in Carfu, and I love that.
Absolutely.
We're doing podcasts together, and we just got that. We love to bang heads for 80 minutes on Saturday. We love to drink beers together afterwards. So I think
for sure, man, it's the rugby culture. I think it's definitely a strong thing here in Illinois. Pretty much everyone I talk to on just about every club is pretty cool. Yeah. So it's a really good time. Get to know the guys. I mean, you're putting your body on the line to play a really fun sport. I think there's some mutual respect in that.
Right. Exactly. 1,000%.
Well, Steve, we've appreciated you coming on, man. You've really broken down a lot for us. Is there anything on your heart that you need to get off? Let us know about with your club before we log off here.
Man, disclaimer, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking on behalf of the South Side Irish for everything I said tonight. I mean, being in the league, playing in Carfu for 25 years, obviously I have a lot of thoughts. I put my title as Old Boy Steve to kind of let you know, I got some of those typical old boy thoughts. So I don't want to, and at the club, the sport has changed quite a bit since, I'd say the 90s and the 1900s. But I'm not going to get too deep into any opinions or anything like that. But I was, for a closing statement, I want to see the clubs. I want to see all clubs have access to grow. I want to make. I think the Hounds, the MLR coming to Chicago has been such a great thing. And I hope that talent doesn't get concentrated with just a few clubs, and we maintain parity by all maintaining access, or if we reciprocate the needs of MLR that they're looking for as well, that everyone has the same access and has the same chance to compete. If too many teams get loaded up with MLR talent or MLR prospects, that can really create some disparity between clubs. And then you're going to have major disparity between within D1 and even within D2. And I just want to see all clubs have a chance. And so I just want to keep the competition going. And I think that kind of goes back to my earlier comments about, seeing some clubs getting blown out by 90. That's not fun for anyone. So I just want to see everyone have I love rugby. Everyone have a good time. Sounds cheesy, but I want to see that. And I'm really excited for the amount of talent that's flooded the Midwest with MLR coming here. And I just hope we just manage that properly. So that's my closing statement.
I absolutely love that. That's very well said. Obviously we're not hitting the main wave of that we're seeing in D1 and D2, but you can go back on some of my previous episodes. There's some trickle down effect coming, Steve. So I think that's very well said. We really appreciate you coming on. Sports by Compion fans, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Midwest Rugby Edition, Sports by Compion style. We're out of here.
Cheers. Thank you.